We all know that Texas was trying to pass insane, draconian anti-abortion legislation in that state recently. And by now we all pretty much know why they failed. We know about Wendy Davis and her legendary historic 11-hour filibuster in Texas, which protested these anti-abortion laws that Texas Republicans were trying to pass in that state. She talked for 11 hours without bathroom breaks or food breaks. She wasn't even able to sit down or lean up against anything, and she had to stay on topic.
That's rough.
Yeah, that is really rough for 11 hours. The filibuster was finally shut down because basically she kind of ran out of everything to talk about, and they finally shut her down and said, you're deviating too much, that's enough.
Can I say this?
Mm-hmm.
They aborted her filibuster.
Yes, they did, but it was too late for Republican legislators, because after her filibuster was finished, the place was flooded with pro-choice protesters that made it very difficult for Republican politicians or any of the politicians in the state to vote on the measure, and thus caused the 12 midnight limit to pass. So the final vote was only submitted after the deadline. So so the legislation didn't pass, and for the most part, Wendy Davis's attempts succeeded, and she managed to defeat Republican legislators in Texas, and now she is being praised by many and demonized by many more.
No, I'm gonna have to kind of like bring everybody down. Okay, Rick Perry, Governor Perry, has already called for a special session in which to ram this thing through, and not only that, but I don't know if you were going to cover this as well, but they played a little bit of rigging, I should say. They changed the computer records to show that the vote had actually been taken on time. And then a staffer the next day, a Republican staffer, went and admitted it and said, yeah, we changed the time.
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, I hadn't heard that. That's terrible. Well, yeah, go ahead. That's all I have. Everyone pretty much knows the details of Wendy Davis's story now. So, yeah, what are your thoughts? What do you have?
My first thought is I love the filibuster. And the reason I love the filibuster is because it's very undemocratic. Like tools like the filibuster exist in our society to prevent minority rights from being taken by the majority. It's to prevent them from being taken by the tyranny of the majority. And everybody who hates the Republicans in the federal Senate and hates how they filibuster and all that needs to really look at the value of this tool. And I think she's heroic for standing up for what she believed in. I think that Texas just wastes a bunch of time because they got nothing better to do. And I'm proud of her. I'm happy that she did it, but I just want everybody to recognize that the filibuster is a necessary tool because it does protect minority rights, even when it's being used by people you do or don't like.
Now, here's where I agree with you. I agree that the filibuster is a useful tool, but in the way that Wendy Davis used it, and previously Rand Paul had used it. Now, you don't see us giving Rand Paul any kind of credit almost any time. At least, you don't see me or Ree doing that.
Right.
But when he did his filibuster on drones, I was actually supportive because he was doing the filibuster in the right way for something that he had professed to believe in. And Wendy Davis did the same thing. This is the way you're supposed to filibuster, not that weak sauce, I intend to filibuster and then go have a steak. No, that's not the way you're supposed to filibuster.
I agree with you. I agree with you totally. I like the standing filibuster. I don't like the fake anonymous, press a button or whatever. However they do it, to the fake filibuster. I like the standing one because it lets people know that you actually care about what you're filibuster.
Exactly, and Texas has some pretty strict rules. Like Ree had pointed out, you can't lean it on anything, and she had a back brace. by the way, because Wendy Davis had a bad back. One of the procedural points of order that was called against her by the Republicans in the Texas Senate was the fact that she had somebody come in and put a back brace on her. Okay, so that was a point of order. Another point of order is where she had went off topic talking about Planned Parenthood,
Sonograms.
which is related. And the other point of order was sonograms. You were correct on that, which has everything to do with also abortion rights.
And by the way, those filibuster rules are stricter than the federal ones. The federal ones, I don't know if you guys know, you could go up there and read the phone book. Like you can basically, as long as you're talking, you could basically do whatever you want.
That's true. It's absolutely true.
Those are much stricter.
I am very impressed with Wendy Davis's legislative activism, and I think that we're going to hear her name a lot more in the future, because I think she's gotten a lot of attention and people want to place her in a higher position of legislative power, I think. And the more that Texas becomes more of a liberal state, that population seems to be spreading, I think the more influence she's going to have. And I must say that she has a lot of similarities to me. She became a single mom when she was 19, and she pushed herself through college, and eventually ended up with a law degree from Harvard. So she is an ambitious person, and she has a lot of good things going for her, obviously.
Now the interesting. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I want to get Daniel's thoughts on this. Daniel, what do you think?
I'm impressed, and I'm glad she went through with it and carried it out. But I agree. The filibuster is there to prevent the majority from infringing their policy on the minority. But I don't like the idea of the silent filibuster where they rubber stamp it and then they go steak and shake.
Yeah, that's not right.
That's bullshit.
Yes, it is. Isn't it kind of funny, the two real politicians that we remember and we think highly of are Rand Paul and Wendy Davis? That's kind of fucked up out of 434. But I'm glad she went and carried it out. I mean, Texas does have a large liberal population. They're just rather quiet and afraid. Rick Perry is a freaking scum of the earth. It just goes to show you their shady practices. They're changed the time frame on their computer so they can disenfranchise the filibuster.
You know that, and I forget who, but there was a Texas senator that was there that actually called the pro-choice protesters terrorists. And not only that, but you also had Rick Perry coming out later, and this goes to what you were talking about earlier, Ree, how Wendy Davis was a single mother. She was born to a single mother.
Right, they're using that to demonize her. Whereas I admire her for her strength, they're demonizing her because she doesn't fit into their moral ideal.
They said she didn't learn from herself.
Yeah. That's essentially what Rick Perry had said. You didn't learn by your own example. Yeah, but it shouldn't be the state's choice.
Learn by your own example. This is the state that's popping out 130 fucking kids a year? So, sorry, take that back. 130 kids each day. Take that back.
I mean, that's like, I don't care if Texas pops out a lot of kids, but the only unfortunate thing about this story, besides there's one thing I have to give that staffer credit, the Republican staffer who pointed out that they changed the computer, because even though he might have done it for selfish reasons, it was still the right thing to do, not to just roll with the fraud of changing the vote. So I want to give him a little bit of credit. And I want to talk about how it's a little unfortunate that Stand with Rand sounds a lot better than Stand with Wendy, just because of the way her name is structured. So I think she has to change her name.